Hey everybody, so we're going to talk a little bit about inversions and what they are. So let's talk about our objectives first. We're going to review our three forms of the musical alphabet. We're going to introduce chord inversions in music. We will provide examples of inversions. Excuse me. And then we're going to take a look at it like how it would look in a soprano, alto, tenor, bass example of those inversions. So let's look at the three forms first. We've got form 1, which is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which is basically all your scales. And then the second form of the alphabet is face, every good boy does fine, which is every other letter of the alphabet, just starting on F, which is your chords. That's how you spell chords. And then our third form, B, G, C, F, is for our key signatures. Like if there's two flats, it's B and E, etc., etc. And if there's sharps, they start on the right and go to the left. So let's look at chord notes. Let's look at a C major chord. All right, C, E, G. That's how you spell it. C is the root of the chord. E is the third of the chord. It's a third above the root. That's the interval. G is the fifth of the chord because it's a fifth above the root. Now, chord inversions. What does that mean? It means when I change the bass note, I still use a note in the chord, but I change which one of the three notes it is. So if I have my chord as C, E, G, that's called root position because the C was in the bass. It was the first one. So you would see that the root is in the bottom. Okay. If you have the E in the bottom, you might see a C over E chord in chord notation in a lead sheet. That is first inversion. And the third is in the bass. And then thinking of it as G, C, E, it's a C chord with a G in the bass. That's called second inversion. All right, so the fifth is in the bass. So now let's take a look at how that looks with soprano, alto, tenor, bass. Okay, so if you have the chord C, C, E, G, your root position C chord is C in the bass, E and G in any order in the alto, tenor, and you could double it with a C. First inversion, which is the C over E chord. So now I have an E in the bass, and then I have my G and my C in the alto and tenor, and you could double it with a C. Second inversion, which is basically your C chord with a G in the bass. You have the G in the bass and then a C and the E in any of the other voices. Okay, so let's look at our soprano, alto, tenor, bass in this next example. If I have a G chord, okay, G, B, D, and the root position G chord looks like that. G, you put a G in the bass and you have your B and D in the other voices. If I had it in first inversion, that's the G over B chord. That means the third is in the bass. I put the B in the bass, and then D and G in any of the other voices. And then second inversion is taking that G chord with a D in the bass. So now D with G and B. All right? So let's try again. This time we have an F chord, F, A, C. So look at that voicing. I doubled the F. See, the F is in the bass. Therefore, it's root position. So let's look at the same chord again. This time, let's look at the spelling. Double the F. I have an A and a C. What's in the bass? The C is in the bass, which is the fifth, which means it's its second inversion. That's an F chord over C. And let's look at this other example. We have the two Fs, the A and the C, F in the soprano, C in the alto, F in the tenor, and A in the bass. So what's in the bass? The A, which means it's a first inversion, so an F over A. So now let's look at something else here. E minor chord, so E, G, B. All right, so let's look at how we spelled it here. Two E's, a B and a G in the bass. So therefore that's the note we look at. The G is in the bass, therefore first inversion because the G is the third. Over here we have that same chord spelled, but we put a B in the bass. The B is the fifth, therefore second inversion. And now the final example, we have E, G, B doubling the E, and we have an E in the bass. That means it's a root position because that's the root of the chord. All right, and there's your first delve into inversions.